Basically what that means, a tariff, because like a lot of people still don't even know what tariffs are, which is really interesting to me. But a tariff is basically a tax on traded goods. So like if you want to ship 100 phones over here and you want to sell them each phone for $1,000, right? Well, then a 25% tariff says that you have to give me $250 for every $1,000 you sell, right? That's what a tariff is. It's a 25% tax on everything. So if you already have a 25, now it's 50. So now you have to give me 500 for every 1,000, right? So it really starts to hit people's pocketbook, and then they start to do what you want them to do, what they get told, because they don't want to fight the number one economy in the world, the United States of America. And so that's where it starts. It'll probably go higher from then, but as most people predict, it's probably eventually going to turn into some sort of military action, because really you don't see how it can't, right? Israel and America will join forces. They're gonna help. They're gonna do some kind of military attack and overturn the Ayatollah finally. So it'll start off as this economical pressure. Then, after that happened, Iran has threatened to assassinate Donald Trump. They've done that before, but now they outspokenly, the leader of Iran said, what an imbecile, right? This guy's a complete idiot. He goes all over the world and he says, he goes all over there and he says, he tweets, everything's fine in Iran. The situation's under control. Everything's calming out. It's like, no, it's not. It's crazier than it's ever been. He just doesn't want the world to see him sweat, because he's backed up against the wall and he knows he is. And any day now, and a bunch of Iranian protesters actually stole one of his colonels, one of the Iranian colonels in the military, and they beat him to death in the streets. And any day now, if they find the Ayatollah, he's going to be Gaddafi'd. He's going to be dragged in the streets and beat to death. They're going to murder him on live TV and upload it to social media for the whole world to see as an example. And he knows that too, which is why one of his escape plans is probably to go to Russia. Or if he doesn't go to Russia, then they're going to murder him in the streets. We'll see what happens. But now he's trying to convince everybody everything's fine. So he threatens to assassinate Donald Trump. And he actually said out of his own mouth, this time we won't miss. That's what he said. And then the Iranian airspace got shut down here recently, and there's no planes flying over Iran. Iran shut down their own airspace because they want to know whether or not somebody's coming overhead with a B-2 bomber, right? Like when we bombed those nuclear sites, which the Persian people supported. In fact, actually, there was graffiti all throughout the streets of Iran that said, Israel, keep bombing them. Iranians are with you. America, thank you for bombing those nuclear sites. We, the Iranian people, the Persians, we support you. Yeah, we love the Persians so much, which is why we're going to help them destroy the Ayatollah. And it helps everybody. Not only do the Persians get set free, which is first and foremost the most important thing, but on top of that, now you don't have to worry about the number one state sponsor of terrorism in the Middle East anymore. Now that severely cuts the funding off of Hamas, Hezbollah, ISIS, and all these radical Islamic terrorist organizations, because they're getting all their money from Iran, which, by the way, was also being laundered to them by Barack Hussein Obama, the Muslim, because when they did the Iranian nuclear deal, they were giving billions of dollars to Iran, and Iran would just take that money and turn it around and send it right back to radical terrorist organizations, and that's how ISIS got created. And it's ridiculous. It's absolutely crazy. These people need to be held. They need to be arrested, held for treason. But removing the Iranian regime not only sets the Persians free from that nonsense, not only restores them to their original history of Farsi, not Arabic, Persian, not Arabic, not Islamic, bring back the freedom for Persians, and it also restores the relationship between Israel and the United States of America, destroys radical Islamic terrorism, and stops this number one state sponsor of terrorism, removes a giant Islamic problem in the Middle East, but also adds a giant friend in the Middle East. And that helps the entire world in their fight. That helps Europe. That helps America. That helps the whole world dealing with radical Islamic terrorism. In fact, actually, if you don't know, well, they shut down their airspace. Iran did. And then now Trump says, well, maybe we don't attack. I don't know. But Trump's not saying that because they're not going to attack. He's not saying that because he's worried about them saying they're going to assassinate him or any of this nonsense. Or because they shut down their airspace. Trump is a master at being unpredictable. So he'll say something, and then the next week he'll say something else, and the next week he says something else, and he goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth because he's kicking up a lot of dust. He's creating a fog of war, essentially, that you can't see through, so that they're not sure, the enemies are not sure if you're going to go this direction or that direction or what direction you're going to go. And then in the middle of the night, when no one's paying attention, you break in and kidnap the president of Venezuela. And so they've threatened that. And I'm telling you, Donald Trump, you need to watch the Secret Service. You need to watch the Secret Service. They are not to be trusted, okay? And I'm not saying it's the whole Secret Service at all. Not at all. There's plenty of great people in the Secret Service. They're awesome. They're wonderful. They're amazing people. The Secret Service has always been a good thing. But right now, in current American politics, with how crazy it's gotten and the assassination attempts that have been on Donald Trump's life before, and Iran saying, we got to go get Trump. You need to watch the Secret Service, okay? Because whether it's found out now or it's found out later, I'm telling you, there's some Secret Service agents in there that are bought and paid off for, okay? And they have connections to Iran, okay? And the whole world's going to see it, okay? Because it's crazy. It needs to be understood. And it's no coincidence that right at this exact same time, when all of this is going on, and then this guy goes to J.D. Vance's house and tries to shoot it up, but they weren't home. And now all of a sudden, James O'Keefe, the incorruptible, great, amazing James O'Keefe, the warrior James O'Keefe, releases the video here recently, before Iran even said that they were going to try to assassinate Trump, which is interesting. So you think maybe it's God trying to show you that something's up with that Secret Service, right before Iran decides to talk about trying to assassinate Donald Trump, and releases that video about that Secret Service agent who was giving random information and releasing press coverage of random information to a random stranger about J.D. Vance's location, where he's going to be at his home in Ohio for the next 5 days, and then he's going to be in Florida, and then doxing them, essentially, and giving them pictures of the presidential convoy and sending it to them and letting them know routes that they go down and paths that they had taken, which can be taken by anyone in the world, and then turned into a essential blueprint for how they decide they're going to strike somebody. From this random Secret Service agent who also said that he voted for Biden, and also said that he's against the ICE protests and he's against ICE, and also said that, and also he's an immigrant. He's not a born and raised in America. I kind of sort of feel like, and I don't care what anybody thinks, whether they want to call this racist or whatever they want to call it. If the president of the United States of America has to be born inside of the United States of America, born and raised, then I kind of feel like anyone that's around them, Secret Service members, anybody else like that, should have to be born and raised in America as well. I firmly believe that. I firmly feel that. There should be no question about your loyalty to this country for you to be able to be that close to the President of the United States on a 24/7 access basis. I'm pretty sure that feels like common sense to me. And so this guy was an immigrant who became a citizen in 2018 and had only been a citizen for 2 years before he was invited to the Secret Service. Why are there American citizens that were born and raised here that have more loyalty to the United States of America than anybody alive, that are constantly overlooked for being on the Secret Service detail, and an immigrant who's only been a citizen for 2 years is just automatically put on the Secret Service detail. He was hired by Biden, of course. He's a stayover from Biden, so you really got to watch that. Anybody that was hired by Biden in any situation or field needs to be watched. They need to be watched because you don't even know maybe if they should. I don't know. Maybe I would fire all of them. I don't trust anybody that was put in there by Biden because every single one of them, Biden is just doing what he was told to do. He's just a puppet to fuel as much deep state tentacles into everything you could find as humanly possible. That's all he is. And so I would really watch the Secret Service if I was Donald Trump and I was the good members of the Secret Service and I was loyal. If I was really trying to help the United States of America and Trump and try to stop Iran, I would pay attention to the Secret Service and not just them, others as well. So they're threatening to assassinate Donald Trump again. And now they've since reopened their airspace. And that's only because they think that Trump and Bibi Netanyahu said, well, we're not going to attack yet. But it's the fog of war. You got to say that stuff. You got to be unpredictable. So that's where we are right now, right, with the whole Iranian revolution that's going on. On top of that, let's see. There was something else I was going to say. I know what it is. Okay. I'll say that and I'll say this and then I'll say a couple more things. Okay.